Hi everyone. I just wanted to show you today how to enroll a brand new patient into PNBot. So from your home screen, you see here it says enroll a new patient. I'm going to click on patient information, which will take me to the patient data entry sheet to begin enrollment. I should note before we get started that it's generally a good idea to make sure that the patient hasn't already been entered into PNBot, especially if you're working in a navigation program with multiple navigators and maybe one of your colleagues has met the patient in the past and already created an entry for them. We actually have a separate tutorial video about how to look up patient information that you can refer to for more information about that. But basically, we want to avoid creating a duplicate record and making more work for yourself for data entry if it's possible to avoid it. So assuming that the patient doesn't already have a record in PNBot, I'm going to click on Create a New Patient Record here. And then that brings up this new data entry form. And the fields that you see here, I selected in the setup sheet. So what you see in your own PNBot may be different depending on what your navigation program has chosen to collect. So you may see more fields, fewer fields. Some variables that you see me entering may not pertain to your program. So first, I enter a client ID number, and it's really important that this ID number is unique to the patient. So basically, this number that I enter here only belongs to this patient and nobody else, and my patient only has one ID number. So I can make it up, or I can click on Get New Client ID to get a new number generated for me. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I can just go ahead and type in these boxes corresponding with the variable. So first name, Sabrina, last name, Phillips. Most of the date type fields, when you click in the box, it'll come up with a calendar widget, but date of birth you type in just because it'd be cumbersome to select a year that's really far back. Navigation intake date is automatically filled out for you and set to today's date, but let's say you're entering data after your actual intake. If you want to change it, just click in the box, and this little calendar widget will pop up here where you can select your month, select your year, and select your day. So let's say that we actually did this intake yesterday. So I selected that date instead, and it changed over here. And my program wants to collect primary insurance information. So when I click in this box, I notice this little upside down triangle, meaning that this is a list type variable, and I can select my response from this pick list here. So I'm going to select Medicaid. And my program also wants to collect everybody's emails. So I'm going to just write that in here. So you'll notice that this cell is a gray color, and if I click on it, it says that you can't change it because it's on a protected sheet. And that's because age is calculated automatically from the date of birth entered in today's date, so I can't change this number. So moving along, maybe my program wants to know about race and ethnicity and get some of those demographic variables. That's also a drop-down list. Usually ethnicity options are Hispanic or Latino or not Hispanic or Latino, but we chose to actually disaggregate these groups a little bit more in case it's important to some programs to collect a little bit more detailed information. But the response options that we provided here, generally we try to follow the best evidence and also incorporate field response options that would make your data comparable to national data and other data sets as well. So similarly with race, we provide the standard options, but we also break out and disaggregate Asian and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander in case you need that level of detail for your patient population. But in the reports, these will, you also have the option to aggregate these options in case that isn't important to your program. So I can just pick that here. Primary language is a write-in field. English proficiency is a drop-down field. Hit tab to go to sex assigned at birth. And then I can write for myself some narrative notes. Okay, and that's basically it for data entry. I can ignore this record history section because that gets generated automatically and is basically for record keeping of who created what record when and when changes were made. So I'm going to scroll back to the top, and it's really important that I click Save and Continue to Case Data Entry to proceed. It's not enough just to hit this File Save button up here that you're all familiar with. You have to click this button here to make sure that what was entered in this form makes it into PNBOT's database list. Okay, so I'm going to click this, and not only is it going to save what I just entered, it's going to also take me to the case data entry sheet over here. So anytime you want to enroll a brand new patient, you can think of the patient data entry sheet as like page 1 and case data entry sheet as page 2. They both get filled out at the same time right at the start when you're enrolling a patient. Because every patient needs to have a case, every case needs to have a patient. Because a case may be defined differently depending on your navigation program, but basically what we mean by that is that it's the period from when navigation services start to when services stop. So if a patient's being entered into PNBOT, we're assuming that they're navigated and therefore they have a case. Okay? So a lot of this information got copied over from what I just entered in the patient data entry section. I don't need to copy it over again. PNBOT assigned this case instance to 1 because this is the patient's first case. If they already had a case in the system, then this would be 2 or 3, etc. But I don't fill that out myself. And it also assigned a case ID number of 4, meaning that what I'm entering now is going to be the 4th case that someone's entered into the system, into PNBOT. So that's filled out automatically. Every case must have a case start date, and this date got pulled from what I just entered for navigation intake date. But again, if I want to change that, I can do so by clicking in the box and selecting something else. Let's say our program wants to know about how patients heard about the program. So maybe the referral source was a surgeon. So I'm going to select that. Case close date, I'm going to leave blank for now because we're just opening the case, so it's not appropriate to close it. But later on, when navigation services stop and we aren't providing services anymore to this patient, I would want to come back to this record and update it with a case close date, and in this instance, a case close reason, if that's important to my program, like maybe they moved away, or navigation was successfully completed, or the patient passed away, or what have you. I'm going to choose a cancer type. Maybe it was colorectal cancer, and whether or not this is a recurrence. And again, your program may or may not be collecting these variables, so let's set that to no. You have the option to enter a number of different dates for cancer timeline. I only included 3 here. But I could put in the first screening or imaging done with maybe a colonoscopy. And the date that was done, let's say it was July 21st. And then date of biopsy would be, let's say, July 25th, treatment initiation, maybe that was August 1st. Okay, so that's basically how you fill out the entry form. So the case data entry form, in my case, is completed now, and I need to again scroll to the top, and it's very important that I hit save to make sure that it makes it into the database. So if I ever want to check to make sure that everything is actually saved into the database, I can look at my list sheets here. So these sheets at the bottom that I'm pointing to also correspond to these buttons in the data entry sheet. So see full list of cases will take me to the case list, and I can see here that my latest case has been entered. And same for patient list. I can see that this patient has been added to my database or my patient list. And that corresponds to this button here in patient data entry. And that's basically it. That's how you enroll a patient into the system. Later on, if you want to make changes, you can do so. But again, it's just important to create a patient data entry and a case data entry record and save them both anytime you want to start a new case. Thank you for